In a world that thrives on connection, there are some who remain untouched by friendship. The silence of their solitude is not just a passing phase, but a deep, often misunderstood condition that defines their existence. Society pushes the idea that everyone needs a friend, yet for many, this remains an elusive dream. What causes people to live without friends? Is it choice, circumstance, or something far deeper within the psyche? The psychology of friendlessness is far more complex than we often realize, and understanding it requires peeling back the layers of emotional and social isolation. Friendship, in its ideal form, is a bond that brings comfort, joy, and a sense of belonging. From early childhood, we are taught that friends are necessary for happiness. The message is clear. A person without friends is either abnormal, lonely, or missing out on life's greatest pleasures. This societal expectation can create a heavy burden for those who struggle to form lasting friendships. For some, the pressure to have friends can feel suffocating, as if they are failing at a fundamental part of life that seems to come so naturally to others. The concept of friendship is often idealized, presented in movies, TV shows, and social media as an effortless and essential part of life. We see groups of friends hanging out, sharing intimate moments, and supporting each other through thick and thin. This narrative pushes the belief that a fulfilling life is one that's shared with a tight-knit group. People who find themselves without friends may begin to feel that they are somehow inadequate, that there's something wrong with them. This feeling of being othered can create a profound sense of loneliness, not just in the physical absence of people, but in the emotional distance it creates between themselves and the rest of society. The pressure can intensify during key moments in life, school, work, or social gatherings, when friendships are often seen as a measure of success. School children are judged by the friends they have, while adults may experience loneliness at social events where everyone seems to be surrounded by a circle of friends. This is compounded by social media, where it's easy to compare oneself to others, seeing pictures of happy gatherings and celebrations that highlight the friendships others seem to have. The pervasive fear of missing out, FOMO, can make one feel like an outsider, adding to the already existing sense of alienation. This societal pressure does more than just create feelings of loneliness, it affects self-esteem. When a person lacks the social validation of friendships, they may start to internalize the belief that they are unworthy of connection. They may even begin to see themselves as unlikable or inadequate. It becomes a vicious cycle. The more they feel the pressure, the more isolated they become, and the harder it becomes to break through the barriers that keep them from forming meaningful relationships. The need to fit in or conform to the expectation of friendship can be exhausting. Understanding the psychological toll of this pressure is a first step in recognizing that not everyone fits the traditional mold of social interaction. And for many, the absence of friends is not a reflection of who they are, but rather a challenge that they must navigate in their own time and in their own way. At the core of many people's struggle with forming friendships lies an intense fear of rejection. This fear is not just about being turned away in a superficial way. It runs much deeper. It is tied to our fundamental need for acceptance and belonging. For those who have experienced rejection in the past, whether in childhood or as adults, the thought of being vulnerable with others can feel overwhelming and even unbearable. The emotional scars of being turned down, ignored, or ridiculed create an internal barrier, preventing them from trying again. Rejection can feel like a personal failure, one that can easily erode a person's sense of worth. For someone who has faced bullying, abandonment, or betrayal in past friendships, the fear of going through it again can make them wary of putting themselves in situations where they might be vulnerable. Vulnerability, after all, involves opening up parts of ourselves that are deeply personal, our insecurities, our flaws, and our desires. It's a risky endeavor that requires trust, and when trust has been broken before, the risk feels too great. The emotional pain of past rejection may echo in every new social interaction, making it feel as though rejection is not only possible, but inevitable. This fear of vulnerability can manifest in many ways. Some people might withdraw entirely, avoiding social situations altogether to protect themselves from potential hurt. Others might keep their interactions superficial, unwilling to allow anyone to see them deeply. They might act in ways that create emotional distance, deflecting conversations, deferring personal topics, or masking their true feelings. These defensive mechanisms serve as a shield, keeping the painful consequences of rejection at bay. However, while these tactics provide temporary relief, they also prevent the possibility of forming close, meaningful relationships. The fear of rejection often leads to a pattern of overthinking social interactions. People who fear rejection may replay every conversation in their minds, obsessing over every word and gesture, wondering if they said something wrong or appeared awkward. This constant self-monitoring not only causes stress but also reinforces the belief that they are somehow incapable of connecting with others. Ironically, this avoidance of vulnerability and fear of rejection can create an even deeper sense of isolation. Without allowing themselves to be open and authentic, they never get the chance to experience the joy of true connection. Trust, after all, is the foundation of friendship, and it can't be built on a facade. Understanding and confronting the fear of rejection is a crucial step toward overcoming the isolation it creates and learning how to embrace vulnerability as a pathway to deeper, more genuine relationships. Not all individuals who find themselves without friends are struggling with loneliness or rejection. For many, the absence of close friendships is not a result of negative experiences but rather a preference for solitude. Introversion, a personality trait characterized by preference for quiet, introspective environments, plays a significant role in how some people navigate social relationships. Introverts often find solace and energy in being alone, and while they may appreciate deep, meaningful interactions, they may feel drained by the constant need for social interaction that society often demands. Introverts are often misunderstood in a world that celebrates extroversion. Extroverts are typically seen as outgoing, sociable, and energized by interactions with others. In contrast, introverts tend to be more reserved, reflective, and find their energy in solitude. This difference can create a divide, as social structures, especially in modern, fast-paced societies, are designed to favor the extroverted ideal. Schools, workplaces, and even social media often prioritize social engagement, which can leave introverts feeling alienated or pressured to fit in by being more social than they naturally feel comfortable being. The need for space in introverts is not a sign of rejection or dislike, but rather an essential component of their mental and emotional well-being. For introverts, prolonged social interaction can be mentally exhausting. They may prefer to spend time alone or in smaller, more intimate groups rather than participating in large gatherings or parties. This doesn't mean they don't value relationships. It means that they recharge differently. An introvert's social life may be smaller but more intimate and fulfilling when they do engage. However, when forced into situations that demand continuous social interaction, they may withdraw, not because they dislike others, but because they need the space to recharge and restore their mental energy. This difference in social needs can sometimes be misinterpreted. Society often equates a lack of friends or social engagement with loneliness or a lack of social skills. But for many introverts, the absence of friendships is simply a result of choosing quality over quantity. Introverts often find comfort in solo activities, reading, writing, or spending time in nature, which offer a sense of peace and reflection that socializing cannot provide. These preferences can sometimes lead to misunderstandings, as others may view introverts as friendless or distant when, in reality, they are simply honoring their need for personal space. Understanding that introverts have a different way of relating to the world and social interactions can help redefine what friendship looks like for them. They may not seek out large groups of friends, but they often cherish deep, meaningful connections that are formed in smaller, more personal settings. For introverts, friendship isn't about the quantity of people but the quality of the relationship. In today's hyper-connected world, technology plays a central role in how we interact with others. On the surface, the rise of social media, instant messaging, and video calls seems to promise an era of constant connection. However, for many people, this digital connectivity has ironically exacerbated feelings of loneliness and isolation. While technology allows us to reach out and communicate with others across the globe, it often fails to provide the depth and authenticity of face-to-face interactions, leaving many individuals feeling more disconnected than ever. The most pervasive form of modern loneliness stems from social media. Platforms like Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter encourage users to share snippets of their lives, presenting an idealized version of reality. This curated image of constant socializing, happiness, and success can create unrealistic expectations and amplify feelings of inadequacy. When individuals compare their own lives to the seemingly perfect lives of others, it can lead to the painful realization that they are somehow missing out. This fear of missing out, FOMO, phenomenon fosters feelings of exclusion, even when they are technically connected online. The problem deepens when people spend more time engaging with virtual interactions rather than cultivating real-world relationships. Online connections, while offering the illusion of companionship, often lack the emotional depth that face-to-face friendships provide. Texts, likes, and comments can never replace the nuanced conversation, shared laughter, and physical presence that make human connection meaningful. For many, the superficial nature of online interactions leaves them feeling empty, as though they are surrounded by friends, but still profoundly alone. Despite the ability to be constantly in touch, digital communication often fails to fulfill the deep emotional needs that physical, in-person relationships provide. Moreover, the addictive nature of social media can lead people into cycles of scrolling and refreshing, hoping to feel more connected or validated. This constant pursuit of validation can lead to emotional exhaustion and a sense of detachment, as the need for genuine human connection is replaced by the fleeting dopamine hits of online interaction. Over time, this can erode a person's ability to engage in meaningful real-life interactions, as they become conditioned to rely on the instant gratification of digital responses rather than the slower, deeper bonds formed in the physical world. In addition, the rise of digital communication has diminished the importance of face-to-face social skills. As people spend more time communicating through screens, they may lose the ability to interpret nonverbal cues like body language and tone, which are essential for building authentic relationships. This can lead to misunderstandings, difficulty forming connections, and a growing sense of disconnection from the people around them. The impact of technology on loneliness is not just about the time spent online. It's about the type of relationships technology encourages. While digital tools can facilitate connections, they often fall short in fostering the depth and authenticity required to combat loneliness. In a world where we are more connected than ever, it is becoming increasingly important to remember that true connection goes beyond likes, shares, and status updates. It requires vulnerability, empathy, and, most importantly, human presence. While the journey of living without friends or feeling disconnected from others can be painful, it is important to recognize that healing and reconnect are not only possible but attainable. The process of rebuilding relationships and finding meaningful connections requires time, patience, and, above all, self-compassion. For many, the wounds of past rejections or isolation can create deep emotional scars, but with the right tools and mindset, these wounds can heal, leading to a future of deeper, more authentic relationships. The first step in healing is self-reflection. It's essential to acknowledge the emotional pain that comes with loneliness, but also to understand its roots. For some, past experiences of betrayal or rejection may have led to fear or a lack of trust in others. For others, it may be a matter of not knowing how to connect in a world that often feels overwhelming. Self-reflection allows individuals to recognize patterns in their social behavior and identify areas where they may need to grow or shift their perspective. This self-awareness lays the foundation for the healing process. Another critical aspect of healing is learning to embrace vulnerability. Often, the fear of opening up to others stems from past hurts, and this fear can prevent individuals from forming new connections. However, vulnerability is at the heart of authentic relationships. It involves the courage to share one's true self, flaws, and all with others. This doesn't mean exposing every detail of one's life immediately, but gradually allowing others to see who you are, your hopes, fears, dreams, and insecurities. When vulnerability is met with kindness and understanding, it can foster deep emotional bonds and pave the way for true connection. The process of reconnecting with others also involves shifting expectations. For those who have been isolated for a long time, it may be tempting to expect instant, close friendships. However, meaningful connections take time to develop. Instead of seeking a large social circle, focusing on one or two genuine relationships can be more fulfilling. It's also helpful to approach social interactions with curiosity and openness rather than the pressure to perform or be someone you're not. Allowing connections to grow organically without forcing them can lead to more fulfilling relationships. Therapy and support groups can also be powerful tools for healing. Talking to a professional or joining a group where others share similar experiences can provide a safe space for emotional growth. These environments offer validation and understanding, allowing individuals to process their feelings of loneliness and work toward healthier ways of connecting with others. Finally, engaging in new activities or hobbies can also provide opportunities to meet people who share similar interests. Volunteering, taking a class, or participating in community events can help individuals connect with others in a low-pressure environment. By starting with shared interests, relationships can form more naturally, and over time, individuals can begin to rebuild their social support systems. Healing from loneliness and finding connection again is not a linear process, but it is achievable. It requires a commitment to personal growth, a willingness to be vulnerable, and a recognition that authentic friendships take time to nurture. With patience and self-compassion, the wounds of isolation can be healed, and individuals can once again experience the joy and fulfillment that comes with meaningful human connection.